Hey guys, I'm a little bit exhausted because I just spent the entire evening theory crafting a bunch of new decks with these new cards. It's literally 1 a.m. right now, so I'm gonna go ahead and get to it. These are 7 new decks you can play with the new cards in this mini expansion. One quick caveat is that these decks are not going to be the most refined. These are theory craft day 1 decks for the expansion. This is not where you gonna be. Look, listen, I pride myself on having the most refined decks, and I always am keeping the website up to date every week with the highest win rate decks. And this, you're gonna have to give me a little bit of a break on this one, because these theory craft decks, they'll be good concepts, but they're not gonna climb you to masters super fast. I will be updating them as I go, however, on the site, and we'll have a meta tier list pretty soon. All right, kicking off the first entry of these 7 decks for the new expansion, we have Death Flurry. This is an interesting new concept, and I would like to add that the items on this list are going to range in varying degrees of competitiveness. This list isn't a full meme, but it's probably not going to be super competitive either. It goes like this. Now that Blade Squire has gotten buffed, this is a really big buff. This card is a 2-1 now instead of a 1-2. Don't trust what you're seeing. And Riven's Blade of the Exile is 1 mana 2. Suddenly Riven makes a lot more sense, and with that we can actually think about running this old school option Basilisk Rider, the Allegiance Noxus card, since Noxus actually has maybe enough good cards to be able to run this mono color scheme again, and pairing that in this case with the Flurry of Fists, this Ionia finisher that is able to attach itself to when you have a unit with both quick attack and overwhelm, with which this deck generates quite a bit. You're going to have a lot of quick attack overwhelm units. You can just end the game on the spot if the opponent doesn't have an answer. So it's a little bit of kind of like a sort of cheese potential game ender, but it will win a lot of games if there's no answer entirely, and it doesn't overcommit you to that. You're still going to be able to win a lot of games just off of the overwhelm concept. So this is a deck that I built in conjunction with What Am I, the new Glimpse Beyond article writer, and I think it'll do pretty well. It's a deck that I'm looking forward to refining and seeing exactly how good it can be, and what fundamental major changes I might want to make to this concept. Okay, next up we've got new Anivia. This one's not too crazy. This one's not doing anything nuts. We're using this new card, Gluttony Anivia. This, I think, should be a fairly refined version in terms of some of the ratioing for what we can reasonably expect to see a metagame. The thing to understand about deck refinement is you can't, the reason you can't make a refined list on launch isn't actually much to do with the new cards, you're not being sure exactly how to use them. It's more to do with metagame, right? Like a refined list is something that is kind of perfect ratioing for what the meta demands, and we don't know exactly what that's going to be. But in terms of extrapolating, a sort of likely metagame, I think this is actually a very refined list, and Anivia decks might actually be potentially tier 1 in this new update. I think it's a bit more likely they'll end up tier 2, but it's an amazing counter to Fizz TF, and Gluttony is obviously huge with Anivia. Gluttony, you can obviously sacrifice Anivia to pull a Rekindler, which is a really big deal, and this deck in particular, we run entry for Anivia, so Gluttony will kind of always be able to hit something. We're always drawing the Anivia. But a really nice thing about Gluttony is because it ensures that we have Rekindler, suddenly we can run more copies of Chronicler of Ruin. Anivia decks have kind of currently only been able to run 0 or 1 Chronicler of Ruins, but now with Gluttony, we're going to be able to pull out Rekindler, which means Chronicler won't really brick out in that, in that combo piece of being able to play it as a post-Rekindler, like second Rekindler. So overall, a super promising deck in this upcoming meta. This is probably going to be the way to play like Shadow Isles Freljord Control. I think some people think that Field Rush might still be the answer, but honestly, I'm kind of liking, with these current tools, Anivia to be kind of the Field Rush replacement. The third deck is Soraka Braum. This is a really, really interesting one. I actually am looking forward to trying to refine this to see if this can be a concept that works in the game. So a very long time ago, when Starspring was initially teased, I made a Braum Soraka deck with Kuvira, and this was actually the thing that we were kind of most excited for. Like when Tom Kench was revealed, when Soraka was revealed, we spent hours trying to make Starspring Braum work you know, with just the regen game plan, and it was just bad. Like it just has not been a good deck. It's never had a good win rate. It's just always been something that couldn't really make sense. Tahm Kench was always better. But now with this new card, Troll Gifts, suddenly it's actually possible that a Soraka Braum deck could actually make sense in this metagame, especially because Tahm Kench isn't really doing that well right now. So at its core, this list is pretty straightforward. This is a full control list, right? We're just like, we're controlling the game. We are just stopping the opponent from playing using Avalanche, using Ember Maiden, and in this case, even a couple of Ice Quakes, just shutting everything down. And of course, trying to level Starspring to win the game with the conjunction of being able to damage our own units, healing our own units, and the added regen of this Troll Gift. We can threaten to close the game with Starspring, or at a nice backup plan, worst case scenario, even if we don't draw Starspring, or even if it doesn't work out for whatever reason, like landmark removal, Star Shaping is kind of powerful enough to be a win condition in and of itself. If we've been controlling the game out and stopping the opponent's game plan, sometimes Star Shaping just is a win game button, and it ends up working overall as a deck just because of that. The really nice thing about Troll Gift is how powerful it is with Braum. Braum is never really, especially at higher ranks, he doesn't really have the ability to be a win condition in and of himself in almost every matchup. So I wouldn't say that's a win condition, but in some niche matchups or in lower ranks, you definitely can just give Braum a permanent +2/+2 and start going to town. And that can actually just make it really hard for the opponent to win. So this new card, Troll Gifts, I do think it has a ton of potential with Braum archetypes. I don't think you can run it outside of Braum, but honestly, with Braum, it's amazing. Ultimately, I don't expect this deck to, you know, make major splashes. It's probably not going to be, you know, a new tier 1 deck or, you know, super competitive, anything like that. But it actually has a little bit of unexplored potential. People will be experimenting with trying to refine this concept to make it work. All right, moving on to deck number 4, Fizz TF, using the new card Stress Testing. It's a pretty standard deck. This is just like a high tier Masters deck. This is one of the decks that I have updated my website as of now, and you know, I'll be updating it as I go, but Fizz TF is in tier 1. That's not really going anywhere. It's a really good deck against Targon decks. If you want to beat Targon, Fizz TF is kind of, you know, perfect to spam. And this version, I think it should be one of the most refined coming off the gates. We're running 3 Zonai Urchin with 3 Stress Testing. So in this case, this is more of just like a high tier meta deck, but I think that now that we've got Zonai and Stress Testing, we can actually cut Pool Shark entirely, which surprisingly enough, the versions running like 0 Pool Shark were actually doing pretty great on the stats. So overall, this is looking to be a powerhouse version of a powerhouse archetype. All right, for deck number 5, some of you guys will have seen something similar to this because I built this based off of a deck that Ricorex actually recently won a Giant Slayer Fight Night with. And it's a really cool concept. Basically, the idea, you know, obviously this is an Overwhelm deck, but we're even splashing in Tri-beam, and with some of the new tools, again, you know, going back to the first deck we showed with Riven and Blazechoir, I gotta say, like, Riven and Blazechoir are just pretty great cards right now, and this deck makes them make a lot of sense. Tri-beam and Probulator is obviously amazing when we're running a lot of 3s, and even though it's kind of weird, you know, you might say, Swim, isn't it weird to run Tri-beam in an Overwhelm deck? Overwhelms don't really have to play super fast. I think that's a really large misconception with the Overwhelm archetype that Ricorex, I think, understands pretty well, which is that you can definitely slow play Overwhelms a bit. Overwhelms are kind of all about inevitability and allowing control tools to have that flexibility for face damage. When I use something like Culling Strike on your blocking unit, on my Overwhelm, I'm dealing additional face damage, right? Stuff like that. And it's basically just the Tri-beam version makes it almost more of a mid-range deck than an aggro deck, but we're running so many 3-mana cards, Tri-beams are going to get amped up real fast. Sump Dredger works beautifully with some of the tools. We can, in some cases, discard like a Blazechoir thing, or in some cases, just a Draven Axe, and we've just got this nice Overwhelm game plan with Rising Spellforce plus Overwhelm as a potential finisher. So this is just a different take on the idea of a Riven Overwhelm archetype, but I do think that as I mentioned in the first place, there's a lot of Riven decks. Like, people will be trying Riven with Freljord Overwhelm, or maybe you can just try Blade Squire in Freljord Overwhelm now. Ultimately, the package does just make a lot more sense, and Noxus Overwhelm in particular, it's definitely their time to shine in this update. So, while this deck doesn't use any, like, explicitly new cards, we are using cards that work a lot better since they're getting buffed, like Riven and Blade Squire. I mean, Riven is almost a new card. She really is actually turning into a real card real fast off the back of this update. All right, deck number 6. This is another one that I built with What Am I? And basically, it is a fairly standard invoke list using Aphelios. Aphelios is, a lot of people are asking, like, what's the best way to play Aphelios? And nobody knows for sure yet, but it will, in all likelihood, be something fairly similar to this. Zoe Aphelios is kind of like just this dream combo, this match made in heaven. They fill each other's downsides like really perfectly. The timings work really well. Zoe can trigger Aphelios' Nightfall sometimes. And Aphelios can sort of be an alternate win condition in and of himself if he actually gets to the point where he levels up or just creates enough value. He's amazing, right? We're, using this new card, the Fangs. I think that's what it's called. Fangs? Something like, the new 4-mana Invoke Lifesteal one. I'm tired. And we're using, of course, Aphelios' ability to generate a bunch of weapons as a potential value condition here. So it is built very similarly to, old style invokes in the past. Here I'm running one Withering Wail just because it's very good in this, again, expected metagame. It does pretty well against stuff like Fizz TF and stuff like Discard Aggro, which I actually expect some people are going to start playing a little bit more as well. So overall, probably one of the better ways to play Aphelios.